Okay, right, okay, right. My bar. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 42 of the Catabolic Window podcast. Today we've got a fan favourite and a host favourite. We've got Ollie back on the podcast. Ollie, say hi.
Hello.
It's third time round.
Oh my God, yeah, it is your third time, mate. You are now officially our most featured guest. If you don't count Dan as a guest because he was a host for a bit there. Anyway, right, onwards and upwards.
Yeah, we had to sign him to another podcast. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, exactly, mate. We've sold him to another podcast. Actually, it's like football. We're like a club, and we sold him. He was
How much did you get?
he was only $500,000, so that's not that bad. You know, it's manageable. That's like one client for us, 1 month of one client. You know,
It's like a cycle, bro. Yeah.
Right. How has everybody's weeks been? I think with the order that I want to do things, if we ask questions, right, I'm going to establish this now at the start. We're going to do John, and then we're going to do Luke, and then we're going to do me, and then we're going to do Ollie. We're going to put Ollie last because he's going to be the most interesting one. So we want to have something to look forward to. Whereas if we put him first, there's no following him. So that's it. We're going to go John, Luke, Jack, Ollie. So how has everyone's weeks been? Let's go.
Right. My week's been pretty eventful, to be honest. Me and the missus have moved into a new gaff. So for the third year of uni as well. So things are going to be getting very spicy very quickly. A lot of stress, very short period of time. That's been my week, to be honest. It's just been leading up to this. I've not really been training all that much, just been getting ready for this move.
Respect.
Fair play, man. I guess it's my turn then. So it's just been a normal week in the trenches, another week in the trenches, like £3 down this week. So it's going pretty well. I am starting to feel it. Like I'm noticing in the evenings, I am getting quite tired, which is just how it's going to be. When you're in a pretty hefty deficit, I've decided that I can't be asked to logbook because I'm not progressing. So I'm just going to look at the numbers from last week and be like, yeah, sound cool.
So wait. Okay, quickly. So you are just kind of going in, looking at last time's performance or whenever you last logbooked, and then you're just like, oh, vaguely go based off that, but then you don't log it. Is that your approach?
Yeah, pretty much.
So you just don't count. You just kind of go until you can't.
Yeah, like some things I know I progressed this week, like in this session, whereas there are a couple of things that maintained or regressed.
How are you finding that mentally, knowing or kind of that uncertainty? Because you're quite an optimal guy, Luke. You're very focused on getting certain numbers. So how does that feel? Does it feel nice or does it feel a little iffy?
It gives me more stress looking at it and seeing it regress than not tracking it at all.
Fair enough. Did you tell Christian,
like
by
I
the
had
way?
a set today where it was a chest supported row. It was my weekly ego lift, where last week I got 10 and this week I got 8. And I was happy with the set until I realised that I got 10 last week.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm with you now. Right. I guess it's my go. I seem to not be shutting up so far this podcast, so I'll keep it nice and short. Another week of gaining for me. Things are feeling good. I'm getting a little less food focused, which is nice, but still just as hungry. Signed up a couple people, a couple coaches, which is kind of surreal to be coaching other coaches. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Not that much eventful. Ollie, the star of our podcast, the filling of our cheesecake. How has your week been, mate?
Another week in paradise, I tell you what. So, yeah, mate. So obviously, at the moment, I'm based over in Turkey, which is quite nice. Doing a bit of boots on the ground, kind of instead of the online coaching side of things. Obviously, you got that on the side still, but yeah, like actually fitness instructing. You know, I am everything the fitness industry hates. Come on,
in person.
I'm encouraging. Yeah, exactly. If in doubt, 3 sets of 10 and legs, bums and tums is basically my kind of like rule of thumb, basically. Yeah, it's just good fun actually. So yeah, no, I'm fitness instructing on a little beach resort in Turkey. So yeah, it's pretty cushy. Last few days though, so I leave on Wednesday. So yeah, been out here for 7 weeks.
Is that something that you want to carry forward? You want to kind of keep a bit of because it's rare to see now. Most people are online, and this is something me and Luke talked about. We both want to have a bit of a combination of in person and online because there's pros and cons to both. So is that something that you want to do moving forward, or is it just kind of a one-off?
Well, so actually, how I started like the performance platform and everything was from my like base in when I was at Nottingham. So I was a fitness instructor at the uni gym, and then basically I took some of my clients from that back to online. So that's where my like initial experience came from, and then obviously became qualified in strength and conditioning, became a bit more professional professionally qualified through that. But like in terms of like a subsidiary like income, so I'm basically going back to start my masters. So like it'd be nice to actually, if the opportunity arose, to find a gym actually just to like base myself out of just for a bit more extra cash, to be honest, because masters are just like absolutely shagging me on like my financial situation, to be honest. But yeah, it's good. So yeah, I'd probably keep it on the side, but
fair enough.
Yeah.
What is your specific masters, if you don't mind me asking?
So I'm off to Durham, and I'm reading Defence and Diplomacy. So yeah. So very not within the realm of fitness. Kind of like aligns to kind of like longer term plans of like military stuff. But yeah, it's quite exciting, really, to be honest. And like, yeah, I don't know, I was kind of shocked to being like, oh yeah, I'm going to Durham kind of thing, because like obviously Durham's like this whole. It's like, oh, so you're an Oxford or Cambridge reject, and it's like, well, yeah, but like, yeah.
Mate.
Yeah, but you can go to Ultraflex, so it's fine.
Say again.
But you can go to Ultraflex, so it's fine.
Yeah, to be fair.
Bodybuilder,
just get one though.
Did you pick Durham based off of the Ultraflex like availability, or?
Say again, sorry.
What was that? Your reason for choosing Durham was because you could go to Ultraflex, or? I tell you what, as somebody that's like the worst bodybuilder ever, no, like I like just being like lean too much, like all year round. I just don't want to get fat. I'm too scared of getting fat, so like I have to just do horrendous amounts of cardio. So no, I decided to veer against my inhibitions of the bodybuilding side. But who knows? Luke was trying to persuade me when he was coaching me. Luke was like, "Yeah, we need to get this man some board shorts." And Matt Strong and I had a very similar conversation of like, actually, yeah, why don't we just get you some board shorts on? But
yeah, for the level of condition that you can maintain year round, like you've got a really fucking good physique.
Yeah,
especially considering you like do actual weight training like 3 times a week, and it's just like 500 minutes of cardio, because why not, bro?
Yeah, literally like looking at my training log this week. I've not finished my training for the week, and I've done basically 7 hours of cardio, and I've still got fucking 4 more sessions to get done.
What's your food at?
Just anything I can get in. But like I was saying to Luke at the moment, like the food and the situation at the moment is like quite a struggle kind of thing, just because obviously we got our staff food and stuff like that, but like in terms of like meal timings and stuff like that, it's really like I just can't get it in, because obviously I'm doing classes from like 8 till 1 in the afternoon, then I'll do like a 1-to-1 PT session from sort of 2 till 3, then back on classes from like 3 till 6:30 kind of thing. So my expenditure is like a joke at the moment. It's like, this is probably the highest it's been ever, I'd say.
So is that just like people that are at the resort and they're like, oh yeah, I want to get a workout while I'm away?
Yeah, so obviously I have like a kind of like class structure. So for example, this morning I had morning run, legs, bums and tums, little morning stretch, tennis fit, kettlebells and abs, rugby, netball, beach tennis, and then another evening stretch. So it's not like horrific, but it's still pretty intensive. And that's like a chill day. Yeah.
Is that an hour of stretching then?
I tailor the class about 30-40 minutes, just because obviously the heat as well. Like it's like 34 degrees out here. So like if I was doing it for an hour, I'd just be like basically just a ball of sweat. I'm sweating now. But
you're looking a bit sunburnt, to be fair, so I imagine it is quite hot.
Mate, I just look pasty in the lighting. This is horrendous. Honestly, been violated. But
what I've taken away from that is next time I program a lower body session with abs in, I am going to call it legs, bums and tums.
Perfect. Mate, yes.
Mate, just let me know if you need any tips. Basically, as I said, 3 sets of 10. It works.
Yeah, and if they can't do 10, just give them all load. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Just do more.
Just look at them dead in the eye and just say, try harder.
Yeah, exactly. Do more. More is more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why we're all in the gym right now, because more is more. We're currently all training.
Yeah, exactly.
We spend
So
all
how
day,
much
every
cardio
day in the
are you
gym
actually
to
doing
get
at the
well.
moment in terms of minutes? What's it looking like?
Sorry, say again.
How much cardio are you doing at the moment in terms of like minutes, the various intensities that it's at, that sort of thing? Is it mostly classes, or are you doing your own stuff as well?
So obviously I do spin classes and stuff like that, but I'll do my own stuff as well. Just because, so when I head back, like we're heading into season for so rowing season restarts, and basically, yeah, like where I'm rocking up a bit later, I've got to turn up quite fit. So yeah, it's just kind of ramping up. Like a lot of it's still within that kind of like zone 2, like just long like steady mileage, to be honest. So it's not like fatigue central, but it's just like good quality of work kind of thing. And it's like I'm finding actually that I feel like actually this is probably the best off season I've had kind of thing from the rowing season, just because I've actually taken the time to go for like different modalities of training, whether it be running, swimming, cycling kind of thing, instead of, because usually I'm such a culprit of like, oh, it's off season, I can kind of like push more on the rowing side, and then I just find I get to season, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm so burnt out. Whereas actually this year I'm like, oh shit, I'm like ready to get back to it, feeling good. I mean, how do you guys what's the transfer over on the bodybuilding side? I suppose that's where bodybuilding is kind of unique, where it's all year round, no?
Yeah, like I guess it's kind of it would be the opposite. So like your off season or your bulk is where you would push things, and then your like prep or your diet would be where you kind of scale things back to the minimum you need. But that's a good point about if you're someone who is in more of a performance sport, where in the off season you really push and then you kind of calm down a bit, but then in pre-season you're also going to push. You might just burn yourself out, like you said, and what you're doing is quite smart. You're still working on your cardiovascular health and endurance and your ability to perform well at rowing. Like you're doing things that are going to carry over, but you're not burning yourself out specifically on rowing. So, mate, that sounds like a fucking great approach. I think that's really going to translate well to you next time you're in season.
Definitely. Like so I'm probably averaging about 50k of running a week, which for context, yeah. So I think this is probably the fastest I've ever been. Which, considering like the last time I was kind of like in a running block as such was like mid-lockdown, like kind of thing. I was like, that's when I was like mega shredded and light. So obviously I was going to be quick. Whereas now I'm just like, I'm not fat, but I'm like just heavier, just a bit heavier on my feet, and I'm just as quick as I was, kind of thing, which is really nice to see. Because before I was like, oh, I'm just fat and slow now. But actually, like, it's so annoying. Like, I physiologically adapted to the heat and everything, and like my heart rate's finally come down in my last week here, and it's like, fuck's sake, why can't I have this from day one? But hey, it's been class. Yeah, weights has been minimal, but
fair.
It's not
you did touch on a good point.
Huge and shredded. So.
Yeah, to be fair.
Sorry, Jack.
No, it's fine. I just mate, I'm sure you are huge and shredded, like Luke said. I just wanted to say, like, you touched on a great point there, and I've got like a few athletes that I do coach, and I kind of see it, people who have, these goals based on performance or physique, but also alongside like something athletic, like their sport or something, right? People are so terrified of gaining weight because they think that their cardio is just going to go to shit. You've made a really good point there that, yeah, when you're lighter, you're going to likely be quicker, but it's still possible. You can improve cardio while also getting heavier and building more tissue. And I always say to people, if you can get heavier while improving on your cardio, being heavier means more food, it means more energy, and that is going to translate to better recovery. If you can be bigger and stronger and heavier and quicker, you're winning all round. There is literally no benefit to being lighter if your cardio is going to be even the exact same. So I think that's a really good point that you kind of touched on there, that if you're really deep involved in athletics, you don't need to hold yourself to, like, even though granted you're still probably fucking shredded, you don't need to hold yourself to like being like 50 kilo or 40 kilo to be really fast.
Yeah,
you feel horrendous at those body weights as well, which definitely doesn't help performance.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, like in this phase, is just definitely really like highlighted to me, like the fact that I'm pretty sad, like Well, I mean, what was I when we finished our diet together, Luke? What, like 78? And I was like, mate, this is just shit. Like, that's when my coach pulled me aside and was like, you just don't need to get any leader.
Yeah, he was just getting like stupid lean.
But it was just like, I think we finished that at like 78.5 kilos.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and which, like, compared to what, like, the depths of lean that I have been, like, in terms of, like, I'm probably about a kilo up from that, but I think I would say actually my condition's back pretty much maintained exactly, and I'm fitter, and also psychologically refreshed, which is a fucking win, to be honest.
Yeah, you were at a point where you weren't like absolutely fucked, but equally happy with how everything was going, which is a really, really nice point to sit at for sure.
Definitely.
You mentioned about zone 2 cardio earlier, and I know how fucking boring that can be because I'm doing some now. With the amount that you do, like what gets you through it? Because I know a lot of people absolutely hate cardio.
So, what was it the other day? Like, I started 80 minutes on the row machine, and someone came in. And they were like, "Why are you not listening to music?" I don't actually listen to anything.
Bro, what?
How are you not so bored?
This guy's going to have terrible advice. He's going to be like, yeah, I just get on it, and then 80 minutes passes, and then I'm done. That's going to be what you say, isn't it?
Harder.
I just do it.
Who's going to carry the boat? No, but like that's the thing. Like, I don't know. I just kind of just like, you know, when it just becomes like you just dial in and just like, you guys probably find this like even with like whether it be coaching work or like training. You know, when you just hit that flow state and you just hit like just. I don't even know why. I just sometimes my brain. What I quite like is because my brain runs at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I don't know if you guys like this, but probably like when your brain runs like 1,000,000 miles an hour, you're probably thinking about 17 different things, and then you've got a song playing in your head that like shouldn't even be playing. It's like mega ADHD on steroids kind of thing. And yeah, and so like finally, like when I'm doing that cardio, my brain actually just shuts up. So that's why I just don't really listen to much, but it's a bit weird. Probably got some demons I need to talk about. Probably got some long-term like daddy issues or something. But like,
Who hurt you, bro? Who hurt you?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I've just realised you were an awful person to ask because you like cardio.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So what about you don't need to like get yourself through it.
What about you guys? Like, because like surely, obviously, where cardio for me is a non-negotiable. Like for you guys, it's kind of depending on phase, it's optional. Like, how would you not approach that kind of thing?
John, you go first with Jack's little order that you organised earlier.
Well, because I've switched from physique-based training to performance-based training, it has kind of become a non-negotiable as it's part of the training regime at the minute. Switching every week, it's only running once a week because I just despise it as a form of exercise. But I'm forcing myself to do it for longevity reasons. But yeah, non-negotiable at the minute.
Exactly.
Fair enough. So you're more driven by just consistency within like your own long-term goals, I guess. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah, with me, it's like I've got 15 minutes after every session and then an hour on one of my rest days. So for the 15-minute sessions, it's basically like takes 5 minutes for me to trim down either end of the videos that I've recorded of me training, like screenshotting, posing stuff, that sort of thing. And then I'll put my post up on Instagram then, and that's pretty much the whole time gone. When it comes to the like hour-long session, probably half an hour, 45 minutes of that will literally just be me like scheduling stories and that sort of thing. So like I don't know if you've seen the client wins stuff that I put up. So it's just like getting the template of that and sticking the screenshot on top of it. And then I'll just like watch something on Netflix and it goes pretty quick.
Fair. Yeah, I often just like respond to posts or write things down. Sometimes when you're like doing something brainless and mindless, my brain will kind of wander, and that's where I might have like some of my best ideas. So I guess the takeaway really is like do something else. Don't focus on the cardio. Just kind of do it mindlessly. And if you don't enjoy it, do something else at the same time. Like post or plan or look at your calendar or chat to people. Sometimes I just chat shit at Luke. Just DM him that he's small or something. I don't know.
So when are you sharing these good ideas, Jack? Because I haven't seen many posted recently.
Yeah, no, I don't actually do anything with them. I just come up with great ideas and then I delete them. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll be too good on Instagram if I post this, so I'm just gonna give it a chance.
You complete it. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I think you guys raised a really interesting one about the term non-negotiables. Actually, I think that's a really interesting topic kind of to break into. Like, what do you guys obviously have any other non-negotiable? Okay, yeah, apart from like, when I wake up, I go for a wee and weigh myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously that's, yeah, okay, that is a non-negotiable. But as in, like, do you guys have any other kind of non-negotiables on the day-to-day kind of thing that you're like, actually, this is making me feel good in my headspace kind of thing?
I mean, if we go in order again, I think for me, when it comes to like nutrition and sleep, those two are very non-negotiable. However, it depends on my current training and sort of the situation I'm in. So if I'm not at home and if I've not got access to, let's say, like the shops whenever I need it, it kind of has to become negotiable, because to take that time out of my life, let's say I'm at home spending time with family, I would rather not take that time out of my life to go get my 500 grams of chicken breast to cook. I'd rather just spend that time with my family. But when I am at home, it sort of does change and becomes a non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
For me, it's just whatever I need to do in order to achieve the goals that I've set out. Like I did a story about this earlier on today, like talking about how people complain that they're not getting towards where they want to be, but they're not doing any of the shit required to get there. So it's like I've said I want to achieve all of this stuff. But what does that involve? That involves doing all of my sessions in the current circumstances, doing my cardio and the steps, etc., etc. Like that's just the shit that I need to do.
Yeah, I feel like it changes as you go through. Like when I probably first started training, it was just like go to the gym 3 days a week, try to get in some protein. And now because like, yeah, we've been doing this for a while, it is like, yeah, make sure that I'm getting at least 8 hours of sleep, make sure that I'm hitting my meals dead on and I'm not like, I'm getting as close to those meal timings as possible, hitting my salt, hitting my fluids, cardio, training. And then obviously related to coaching, like, and it'll be the same for Luke, like making sure that certain things get done within the business, but that's beside from bodybuilding. I'm sure that'll be the same for everyone with any job. You've got non-negotiable tasks you need to get done.
Yeah.
Nah, bro, you don't need to respond to clients. Like, just leave them for like 2 days. It's fine.
I just don't update anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So they're like, this isn't working. No, it's fine, bro. Just do it.
Just keep on. Yeah, try again next week. Sorry.
Okay, if we're all going to try and be a little bit useful now, so say there's someone listening to this
Nah, never.
that's like struggling to make progress at the moment, what non-negotiables would you boys suggest? So if we do like one each until we run out of ideas.
Before we break into that, can I just, my brain's kind of like, so I remember, I don't know if you've done a post on this, Luke, but like with, when I was working with Matt, he broke it down and it's the rocks, pebbles, sand analogy.
Yeah.
And definitely. I think like that is an absolute, like, especially as a beginner, like, because there's so much bollocks in the industry right now, like no matter what, especially with like hybrid talk or fucking like Andrew Tate talk or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just deciphering through that and actually just working out those the rocks being the big thing. So yeah, as we're talking about the non-negotiables, I think I'd say like one for me, like I know that I absolutely have to work on to improve, but when I do improve it, it's so much better is my sleep. Luke will vouch for this as well. When he was coaching me, like, yeah, it's like I would say it's like this sleep routine, sleep, like consistent sleep, like bed and wake time. Absolutely, yeah, give them. But that's from me. What about you guys?
Who would be after you in the order? It'd be John,
Just
right?
go back to John.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I got the order.
I think food would have to be a non-negotiable, or like just general nutrition, like as well as like hitting your protein and your carbs like for the day, as well as hitting your water intake or like your sodium intake. But again, taking the analogy of rock, pebble, sands, is make sure you're hitting these main requirements, being protein, water, carbs, and fats, and then start to look into, depending on how advanced you want to be or how advanced you already are, then start looking into maybe changing your sodium intake or your potassium intake, or increasing the level of zinc that you're also intaking as well.
On a really, really basic level, it's just like, can you get protein across 3 meals a day? Like, you don't necessarily need to track it. Of course, tracking is going to get you better results, but like just saying, okay, a one of something, so 1 chicken breast, like 1 steak, 1 pot of yogurt, whatever it may be. Like, obviously the sizes are drastically different, but doing some of that is already going to go a long way. You've got like 3 meals per day there, and instead of so like micromanaging how much salt and sodium you're taking in, just like 2 grinds on a meal. And the general rule that I use there for people that haven't really looked at that sort of thing before is, if it tastes too salty, you've probably overdone it.
I think,
and then going on to like my one, I guess, would be looking at a training schedule you can consistently keep up. So if you think, okay, yeah, I can probably train 5 days a week, it's like, no, what could you do on your busiest week whatsoever? The boss has called you in for overtime, family members had to go to hospital, so you've got to drive them to and from and whatever. It's like, okay, yeah, I could definitely do 3 sessions that week. Just start with that, rather than like pressuring yourself so much that you then can't consistently do it.
Yeah, I think like Luke and John have raised a really good point there. What your rocks are, or what your main focus is going to change over time. If you're brand new to the gym and you're, just starting out, like Luke said, just eat some protein. That's all you need to do. Just get yourself to the gym a consistent number of times. And over time, you'll get to the point where, like, some of the rocks that we're focusing on, like making sure that, like, Ollie's got a consistent dialed in wake and sleep time. For me, it's like my sodium and my fluid is something that I really need to work on. I'm like always skipping out or fucking that up or whatever. And so you'll get to the point where, like, yeah, you'll look at these more advanced things, but just starting off, I think Luke made an excellent point of just doing something that you can consistently adhere to. Like, the analogy that I always use for introducing yourself to training or training in general is, it's like adding water to a towel. It's easy to add water to the towel. It's hard to wring it out. So if you overstep that mark and you get your towel fucking drenched, you're fucked. If you go in there brand new to the gym being like, I'm going to do 6 sessions every single week, your towel is drenched, mate. You're going to struggle to hit that and do that consistently. Whereas if you say, I'm going to do 2 this week, I'm going to do 2, I'm going to do 2, I'm going to do 2, it's easy to add. It's easy to not do enough and then add than it is to do too much, burn out, crash. And it's the same for like nutrition. If you try and jump in with like strict calorie goals, nutrition, like full macros and micros, you're going to burn out so quickly. You're going to be like, oh my God, I can't eat anything. Whereas if you just go, right, I'm just going to try and eat 100 plus grams of protein a day, then that's going to be nice and easy. Then you can dial it in a little bit more, slowly push it up. That's going to be.
I think. Sorry.
Go on, Ollie.
You've got to do better.
Go on,
I'm not speaking.
What is going on here? Right, I'm talking, you both suck. Something just come to mind for me there is, Ollie, so obviously while you're away, you mentioned to me that the food situation is not particularly ideal. So run us through what it's like at the moment and how you're sort of dealing with it.
Professionally, I've got to be careful because so I had my appraisal the other day, and they said the one thing I've got to be careful about was mentioning to people how bad our staff food was. So I've got to be quite professionally careful about what I say. It's suboptimal. That's my professional judgment of it. A full spectrum of sort of proteins with a full branch of amino acids is few and far between. So a lot of basically what I'm doing is basically hopping to the shop and getting my bananas, my peanut butter, homemade the carton protein shakes, and basically living off that at the moment. And then I'll probably have like 3 chicken wraps and 3 portions of chips a day, kind of thing, just to kind of like try and get some actual calories in. And then there's like obviously a salad bar, which I just like. Salad, but then I just like douse it in like olive oil just because it's calories in it, which is just so not optimal. But yeah, I obviously just don't want to lose my weight, so basically just trying to any chance I can get my calories in.
Yeah, but if you didn't do that, you'd literally come back stage ready. So
Honestly, so my average step count, I would say minimum, I'm probably looking at 20 to 35,000 steps a day. Like my expenditure is stupid.
How are you alive, man? I'd be like non-responsive. I'd be like just zombie.
I think the thing is as well, like I'm a kryptonite. I love a beer. I love a glass of wine. I love a gin and tonic, right? So literally, I think I'm also keeping my eye on because I'm drinking my calories in the evening. So we talk about suboptimal as a fitness instructor as well. Like, yeah, I think I think probably I'm getting a good sort of. I reckon I'm probably getting pretty about 14 to 1600 calories in of booze a night, probably, which is not my healthiest, I will admit. But
how are you not so hungover?
Because every glass of water, every glass of like whatever it is, every glass of water to replace it. You got to be tapped.
You know the protocol.
The protocol,
yeah, exactly.
The classic.
Exactly. And also, if you're having a glass of wine as well, before you fill up your next glass of wine, pour water in your wine glass, because then you've got to finish that water before you can have another glass of wine. That's my tactic.
Oh, that's quite smart. I like that.
Luke's like, what is this guy doing?
I don't get it. Wait,
so if you're filling your glass, so you have to get through it to get the refill. Whereas, like, if you had a separate glass of water and your wine glass was empty, you could just get a refill on the wine and skip the water. So he's forcing himself to drink the water to get more wine in his glass.
I think that's possibly the dumbest shit you've ever said.
What do you mean?
Nah, for some people that will be a game changer. I know a couple people that would love that. Seriously.
Exactly. Just chop your water and then get on the wines. Come on.
I guess.
Or just drink out the bottle. Either way, it's quite nice.
And then refill the bottle with water and then down that.
Yeah.
Jesus, can you imagine?
Well, to be fair, a bottle of wine is about 650 calories. So, yeah, it's not too bad.
That's not that bad,
yeah,
actually.
It's not horrendous. I only know that because like back when I was like shredding down, I was like, right, how many bottles of wine can I negotiate? And the thing is, it took me like a glass to be absolutely floored. Like, because you're just so peeled. I was just like, yeah, I can get for a bottle. No, Ollie could not.
Yeah, I remember doing that. I think it was the day before my second show, having like a glass of wine or something like that, and I was wasted. I was so drunk.
Oh yeah, I saw Glenn Gillen do that. Yeah, with the boxed wine.
It's the minimal food and being that lean that just like any amount of alcohol instantly.
Cheap though, isn't it? So
yeah, no, true. If you're drinking to get drunk, then yeah, it's cheap as hell.
Efficiency.
What's been your favourite part of the summer so far then?
Is that directed at me? I don't want to skip the
Yeah.
What
about the other two summer? I've heard all about that every fucking week.
To be fair, literally.
What's been? I tell you what, actually, like it's been really nice. Like, so obviously I was a teacher, just gone, and then like actually working with like adults as well, and I actually like having sort of adult conversations and just getting to know people on like quite a personal level, just like discussing what they do for a living, but also just sparking some really quite interesting conversations and just listening to their walks of life and what their different experiences are. And actually you kind of like learn to kind of like tailor your conversations accordingly, kind of thing. And like that's one thing like I think I've done like a skill that's probably developed since being out here is actually like, because sometimes I can be a bit of a culprit of like, I'm quite a direct person, which isn't always like my smoothest thing. Like, and actually just learning to kind of take a step back from that, and actually, so yeah, like getting to know people and just learn about their experiences has probably been a real highlight actually, which has been quite nice. So
yeah, like all you've got to do to get along with someone pretty well is find like one or two things that you're both interested in. And then you've got a good chunk of stuff that you can talk about. There's nothing worse than trying to talk to someone about shit that they don't care about, or vice versa, because like no one enjoys that.
No, definitely. Like, what was it? I was speaking to one person the other day, and she was like, "The best question you can ask someone is not how it like. Well, obviously you're like, oh, how are you, whatever. But like, actually, instead of you can be like, what interests you? Is just being direct is like, what interests you, kind of thing. Because like, and I asked like we all the team went out for dinner the other day, and I asked them, I was like, oh, like I hadn't really chatted to this one guy. I was like, oh, tell me what interests you, because the thing is, you can, with that question, you can go anywhere from, oh, I'm interested in bodybuilding, to actually I love train tracks. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can really like take that so diverse. Actually, I think it's a really good question, because then they feel a sense of like purpose and like, oh, like actually like this guy wants to know more about it. And I think it's a really kind of a good question to kind of delve into. I don't know, it sounds a bit airy, but yeah.
No, I might have to deploy that one actually.
No, that is a good one. I rate that. I think sometimes it can be interesting if you meet someone who's from such a different like area to yourself, that they're like, oh, I do this, and then you're like, oh, actually that sounds kind of interesting. Like, what the fuck does that involve? I've never explored that before. You know, like I've come across a few people where they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm an online coach, and I'm like getting into bodybuilding, and they're like, what the fuck? Like, what is that about? Like, what does that even look like? And you're like, oh, well, now cool, I get to talk about me. This is great. You know, but your degree being so far removed from what you're doing for a career is also really fucking interesting, because it's like, what draws you to that? What does that involve? Like, I've never gone anywhere near that, so in a way I'm kind of interested and intrigued. So sometimes it is cool to just see something that you don't have in common at all and talking about that.
Yeah,
I always find it proper fucking awkward when people ask me about what I do. I just stop talking. I don't know what to say.
I post naked pictures of myself on Instagram.
Yeah, pretty much, basically.
what, in my girlfriend's pants.
Yeah, 100%. Cheers for that. Cheers for that. How do you find training people in person versus like training people online?
Obviously, both are good fun and different in their different way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like the buzz people get in person sometimes. If like, because especially some of the classes I'm delivering, like for example, a circuits class, like actually seeing people and they're like working hard, but then afterwards they're like, oh, like, thanks for that, like really enjoyed that, and seeing that sort of like endorphin rush in person, like that for me is a real buzz. Obviously online, like sometimes can have the risk of just being a bit impersonal, but actually like online I like the flexibility of what it brings, kind of thing. Like obviously been managing to like cope with it out here, which has been like a nice thing. So yeah, both are good. I mean, what would I rather do full time? I don't know. I'm gonna say.
Well, who says you have to pick one though? You know, they've both got pros and cons, and you can run them both alongside. I don't think you ever really have to pick, unless one just like absolutely blew up and just ate the other one up. Then, but still, I don't think you have to pick.
Definitely.
Yeah, if there's two things you enjoy, like just carry on.
Yeah. It's like, especially if you're self-employed and you're managing it yourself, you just can, you know, cap the amount of in-person clients you have and how many hours you do a week, and then cap your online clients anyway. And you know, if online keeps growing, cool, but you can bring on some other people if you want to, or I guess similar thing for in-person. You could just start clumping people together in classes. You know, there's always something that you can do if things take off beyond your means. You raised a good point though about like in online always feeling a little bit impersonal. That's always going to be something that some people value, and that as coaches we need to, if that's something that someone really values, which most people do, you do overcome that barrier as much as possible. Like, you know, you'll see me and Luke always getting on calls with people, sending voice notes, talking to people, meeting up with clients if we're in the area. Like you said, the more that you can kind of build that like, you still want to have a bit of a dynamic of coach to client, but building a bit of a personal relationship almost is always going to make them more invested in you and into the process. So I think, you know, being able to do that in person is good, but equally do try and, like, I'm sure you do try and build that online with your clients anyway, but I'm sure you fucking do, mate.
Yeah, I think like I had one client the other what was it, like last month, and basically she like some of the like mindset stuff that I kind of like that has just been like drawn through just experience, kind of thing, and like actually that wasn't appropriate for a case of like a voice note or like a video. Like it was actually a case of like, as you said, just like picking up that phone and being like, actually let's break this down, like let's delve a bit deeper into a conversation, kind of thing. So yeah, I think in that instance it's just learning to like adapt to what suits your client best, kind of thing. Definitely. You know, and so, you know, some people are okay with like one WhatsApp a week, and that's fine. But then some people like, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think like. I would say I fall somewhere in between if I had a coach I feel. Initially, I remember, yeah, I mean, the worst thing you can like it can feel like is if you're too scared to go to your coach, kind of thing. We're not fucking mind readers. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing worse. Like, I had someone the other week, and she was like, I was like, oh, like just checking in, like how the session has gone. Let me know when like sheets are all updated. And she messaged back being like, oh, I've been away on holiday this week. And it's like, well, like, okay, fine, no problem. Like, life gets in the way, of course. Like, I absolutely sympathize that. Like, brilliant, you're on holiday, good, switch off. But equally, like, let me know. Do you know what I mean? Like, because then obviously I've got a big periodization model I'm going off, kind of thing. If you miss one of like a whole week of training, you know, that's a good quality bit of work. If we're working to a timeline of sort of 8 weeks away, and you know you're missing sort of week 5, which is really quite a foundational week, like that's going to have knock-on consequence. So it's just having that transparency of communication, I think, that I like should be really emphasized.
Yeah, like always in the early days with someone, like no matter how small the sort of thing they tell me is, I'm always like, thank you so much for telling me, because that sort of then encourages them, like, oh, it's okay, he's not going to sit there and have a go at me. But yeah, that's so true. Like, we're not mind readers. And one that really annoys me is when clients will say, oh, I'm having an issue with this exercise, and I'm like, okay, did you get a video? And they're like, no. Oh, okay, right. So let me like go into your brain and just look at what's going on. Let me do that. No, I don't have the ability to do that one yet. So please fucking video your sets.
Yeah, that's always a big one. Or it comes to check in, and then they'll be like, I've had an absolutely awful week, and you're just sat there like, what? Why didn't you say anything? They'll be like, on Tuesday, I missed all my meals, and then the day after I broke my leg, and then my car got hit by another car. You'll be like, don't have to wait until check-in to say that. Let me know immediately. Like, if anything is off, just shout me. I think that's always like one that I find frustrating, is if people like, or if you randomly send a client a message and you're like, hey, how's it going? And then they're like absolutely awful. And you're like, well, what if I didn't send this message? Were you just like not going to say anything? Like, it's my job to do this for you. Like, tell me what's going on, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Ollie, I know that Jack and John have to go at past. That's obviously going to mean absolutely nothing to the listeners. So we've got like another 10 minutes or so. I got a couple of quick fire questions that we can run through. Does that sound all right?
Go for it.
You start.
Okay. What's the most common misunderstanding people have about you?
I'm an arrogant dickhead. Would say
That doesn't seem like a misunderstanding.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Why do you think that?
Because I wear linen shirts and a gold watch.
Okay, fair. That was really quick.
To be fair, if I see anyone who's like shredded with a gold watch, I'm like, he probably loves himself. Fair enough.
No, it's because I want to look like Joe Delaney. Let's be really honest. It's literally the exact one he has in his story. Like,
it doesn't help that you're blonde as well. I think that makes the whole like mystique worse.
Oh, the quiff.
Brilliant.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, great. Cheers, boys. Basically agree.
Yeah, come again. You know how much you love coming on the podcast. We'd love to have you again, mate.
Honestly, I've been bullied off. Why is Ollie not back? He's been bullied off in his cool child line.
Yeah, pretty much. If you could coach any historical figure, who would they be?
Historical figure. I'm going to go for Winston Churchill. Because imagine him like shredded out, like leaving the country.
Looks like he needs to do some cardio. To be fair,
Transformation, mate.
Yeah, he's got a yogurt rig, so he's got to sort it out.
Do you know what would make it even better?
That's the name of the podcast, Yogurt Rig.
In the after picture.
Yeah, to be fair, just him with a cigar and one. Yeah. Class, mate. Class. Yeah, I'm going Winnie Churchill.
Oh, that'd be brilliant. What is your nightmare meal plan?
I love this question.
Is it... What is in...
Like a meal plan designed to torture you.
Could not bear to eat for an entire day. Like,
oh, God.
You have to list out the 4 meals that you would hate to eat the most. What would they be?
Oh, I'm actually a fat bastard, so I eat anything. There actually isn't anything. I literally, you could throw anything on a meal plan, I'd probably eat it.
Damn.
Apart from tuna. Actually, tuna and like egg mayo sandwiches and stuff like that. Like, whose man's eating that? Like, we're not cats. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I just can't hack that. Yeah, tuna. I'd probably like a tin of tuna on like just plain tuna, dry tuna on a bit of like white bread. Egg mayo to eat on a train because like it's stinking out of the place. Like, and like kippers or something like that. Nah, see you later. I'm done.
I like that your meal plan has a location as well. It's not just an egg mayo. If you want to stay on plan, you've got to do it in public transport.
Yeah, exactly.
Non-negotiable, mate. That's your rock. That's not pebble.
That would lead to even more misunderstandings about what people think about you.
Oh my god, you imagine.
Just so inconsiderate. Brilliant. Okay, if you had to invent any flavor of supplement that is savory, what would the supplement be and what flavor would it be?
Savory.
Gonna guess it's not tuna.
Imagine a tuna whey protein.
Oh, that's rough.
It's rancid. I'm gonna go for a chicken. Like, it's gonna be a curry mass gainer. I'm going for a curry mastic. I'm going for a curry mastic.
You imagine you put that as a sauce on rice.
A sauce?
Yeah, like if you made it into a paste, right, and you mixed it with some rice.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Banging.
Or it could be like one of them, the Huel things that like always pop up, like you put it in a pot.
Yeah.
Just put some hot water on it, mate.
Have you not ever had the Huel stuff?
No, never.
No.
Is it?
I've tried that the drinks the drinks are proper thick. I don't like it personally.
Just add more water.
Yeah.
You've absolutely rinsed it.
No, it's like the pre-made drinks that they sell in shops and stuff.
The vanilla one. Yeah, vanilla one that's calm, but like they're not good.
But then after you finished it, fill the container up with water to wash it down.
Oh,
fine.
It's what protein source is it? It's like peas in it.
It's all plant based. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's non-complete protein technically. I think. I'm not sure.
Veganism is dead.
That's our podcast sorted.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're gonna get fucking cancelled
now. All of our listeners are vegan. Name 3 people you'd never coach.
You 3.
Yeah, I was literally about to say Luke, Jack, John.
Actually, to be fair, we would be awful fucking clients for cardio shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say you wouldn't do any. No,
John would be the best out of us, but I don't think Lewis would be good.
Rich Piana.
Ollie would be like, "Can we go back? Can we go down to TRT?" He's like, "Yeah, bro, that's fine. I'll take some TRT. That's all good."
Pinning his neck.
I'm saying. So Rich Piana, I'm saying. Oh, come on. It's meant to be quick fire. Rich Piana. I have someone in mind, but it's probably not appropriate.
Eddie Hall.
To say on the podcast.
Eddie Hall would be horrific.
I think he'd be quite good because he's like, you've got to be so fit for strongman as well.
He's going to bodybuilding, isn't he?
Is he?
God, he says he is. I don't know if he is. We'll find out. Eddie, if you're listening, tag us if you're going into bodybuilding.
Yeah, so I'm saying,
sick, bro.
I'm going to say I'm saying Rich Piana. I'm going to say Sam. What's his name?
Sam Sulek.
Yeah, Sam Sulek. Yeah.
He definitely won't listen to it.
He genuinely cardios hard. He cardios frequently. I can't remember how frequently, but he like goes until he's fucking dead. So he might be alright.
But probably the amount of like gear he's on, he's probably just like his heart's probably like a pea. Or just super enlarged. So Rich Piana, Sam Sulek, and I'm gonna say oh come on, who's someone? Brad Castleberry.
Oh my god, what a good one! What a good one!
Is that the fake weights guy?
Yeah, that's the fake colour fake weights. Yeah.
You're like, bro, could you update your logbook, please? And he just like puts all the fake weights
Yeah,
in there.
100 meters
Fake
and 100 meters and he completed the 100 meters, mate. Completed it.
0
seconds flat.
seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He gives a new world record every week.
That's incredible. Bro, thank you very much for your time. Where can people find you and the shit that you do?
If you type in the.performance.platform, if you need any help with the hybrid games, come hit me up. But thank you very much again, boys, for hosting me on the podcast. Really appreciate it. Had to deal with my annoying quiff in my linen shirt this evening, but it's fine. You got to deal with it. And, oh, mate, no day's the same. And hopefully catch up soon.
It's all good, man. Thank you very much for coming on. Yeah. I think Jack's going to end the screen recording and then we can say some shit that we should record.